department. publicly owned. So that's why a lot of times you'll see that in college students will make waves without even writing whatsoever.
Is it okay if my wife sits down?
You're married? My sister. You're married? To you? Sorry for you.
That's my stuff.
We're just getting to be like,
Yeah.
I'm Sister Janet, right?
Okay, we have a master plan survey we're working out. There you go. You want one of those too, right?
Did it come to the council packet? You know what? I probably have it here.
Pardon me, folks. I just want to let you know I have a community survey for the city's master plan that we just got. We're going to be passing them out. This is a good opportunity to pass out the first ones we got. So I'll just go ahead and pass these out. And take one and pass it out.
Is this accurate to that one? Looks like it. Okay.
There you go. Take one and pass it out. We have a few extra right there.
What's that? They're in the email here, but I know you don't have your laptop with you. This is the same one that's handed out before, right?
Yeah, it's the same one.
Okay. Just a copy for everybody?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah, you can scan that so
I'll tell you, if I had to keep track of all this paper, I would carry around a big duffel bag like you. Okay, we're out of chairs, so we need to start putting people in the other room probably.
Pledge allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Mayor Householder,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Farmer,
Present.
Councilmember Fry,
Present.
Councilmember Bader,
Present.
Councilmember Hicks,
Present.
Councilmember Tanner,
Present.
Councilmember Koenig.
Present.
Ready for forum. You can walk this way.
You're welcome to stay if you wanted to sit over here.
Got another lady coming.
Okay.
Thank you.
Watch the cord.
Watch the cord back
Watch the
there.
cord.
Okay.
I don't want you to trip. Nancy, watch the cord.
If I can have approval of the agenda, please. Any motion?
I would like to amend the agenda if I could. I'd like to see us talk about the sewer issue over at the post office. The owner is here, and I'd like to discuss that. We put that on new business.
I'll second it.
Okay. We'll
So-
call it new business item number C.
Number letter.
Okay. Can we go ahead and get a vote on it, please?
You don't have to do roll call.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
I move to approve the agenda with the noted changes. I was starting that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Next one is approval of prior meeting minutes, August 18th, 2014.
And for this one, I'm gonna ask the council to wait till next meeting for that. I didn't have a chance to distribute that to everyone.
Next one is resolution.
Make a motion to postpone that.
Table. Going down the list is resolutions, proclamations, presentations. Van Buren's Senior Services Annual Report Presentation.
Thanks for
Yep.
the crowd. My name is Mark Thomas, and I live in Arlington Township. But I serve at large on the board for Senior Services of Van Buren County. How many of you take part in those activities, or at least read the newspaper that we put out once a week? Thank you very much. Well, you know, 68 seniors in the city of Bangor took part in about 1,114 activities just this past year. The taxes collected, and there was a quarter mill just passed the last election. We collect about a little less than $6,000, and the average cost of those activities is 1,141 activities, $9.74, so $11,000, almost a 2-to-1 return on that investment that you're making in seniors. One of the best things that seniors services provides is Care Watch. And it's a way of looking after our seniors. Some of us are seniors. Anybody over 60 is a senior, and I know Councilman Fry is. I'm sure he does. We also build ramps for people that have a need to be able to get in and out of their house. There's 2 built in Bangor in the last year at about an average cost of $500. Bangor has 6 volunteers that put in 772 hours just last year, so that's pretty amazing. I know there's a facility at the Simpson Methodist Church, and I think there's one other site here in town where they do activities. Help me out. Maybe over here in August. I know they serve meals at the church from time, probably on a weekly basis. If you've read, there's a flyer in the, I want to say the flashes, but I know it's the reminder here in Bangor every week that comes out, and it's got all the activities that are listed for seniors. Just a week or so ago, we had our countywide picnic, and there were about 300 people there. Anybody here that was at that picnic? It was free, and there was free transportation, all you can eat. So next year, be sure to get that on your calendar. Anybody have any questions about the senior services of Van Buren County? No questions. Anybody want to pay more than $250,000? I hope you'll start looking for that newspaper insert in the flashes or in a reminder, because it gives all the activities for seniors. And again, it's anybody over 60 years old. And there's no charge for a lot of the services. There are meal sites in, say, here in Bangor, Paw Paw, and Hartford. Anybody been to the new senior center in South Haven?
Not a senior, but I go to a knitting class over there.
Very good. Well, thank you. And all of your council members and elected officials have a copy of this. Maybe they can get it printed in the minutes. I have one copy for the press, which well, I don't have any more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving down the list is going to be opportunity for the public comments. Please keep comments under 3 minutes, and please be respectful, everybody. Go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity to be able to speak. I'm going to read what I wrote so I don't forget what I wanted to say.
Excuse me, could I have your name, please?
Teresa Wiles.
Thank you.
I live here in Bangor. I wanted to thank Chief Baker. For some reason, I thought he might be here. I wanted to thank Chief Baker for his years of service to the city of Bangor. I have always appreciated his dedication and obvious love for our small town, and that I'm sorry that we felt we had to sever his employment in the way we did. It's kind of like Steve all over again. I used to think Bangor had a lot more class and that we had pride in our small town values, but I am now questioning Bangor's ethics as well as its compassion and humility as of late. I am confused and disheartened with the direction we seem to be heading, but I guess that is beside the point because what's done is done. But again, I want to thank Chief Baker, and anybody that knows him, just tell him I said thank you. And I'm sure there's a big retirement cake in the works for him too.
You bet.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Please. Go ahead and stand up.
I'm Mike Hescott. Mr. Mayor, Mr. City Manager, council members, and audience members. For those of you that don't know me, I am Mike Hescott. I'm the president and owner of the Freestone Pickle Company. I don't reside in the Bangor city limits, but I do pay a considerable amount of property tax in the city. And I felt compelled to speak here tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to voice my concerns regarding the retirement of Police Chief Gary Baker. I've known Gary Baker for the better part of the 18 years that he acted as the city's chief of police. During this time, in my opinion, Gary and his officers have done a commendable job during his 18-year tenure. Gary mentored many officers during his tenure. Some now work for the County Sheriff's Department while others work for other agencies. I'm sure he's probably had a few officers during an 18-year tenure that didn't see eye to eye with him, but no doubt respected him. I met quite a number of his officers in the middle of the night that responded to false alarm calls at my business. I can certainly attest to the fact that they were friendly, courteous, and most of all professional. I have no doubt that this was because Gary exhibited these attributes and he expected it of his officers. It's truly amazing that anyone considering a career in our police department would want to start their career here when you consider that the entire department in recent years has been banished to the equivalent of a large walk-in closet in the old DPW building. During their banishment, the city took steps to disband the department entirely. They've become the proverbial unwanted red-headed stepchild of this city. Thanks to public outcry, the city never took the additional steps to eliminate the department completely. For the last year and a half, Gary continued to work and serve the citizens of Bangor despite not having a contract. How many of you council members, including the city manager, would work that long for the city of Bangor in any position without a contract? I quote the September 4th Herald Palladium article entitled, "Bangor Police Chief Retires," written by Becky Karp. He had been working without a contract for a year and a half before I started, Fellows said. After I started, negotiating a contract, was on my list of things to do. We talked about where he wanted to end up going. Was it retirement or what? He settled on retirement. Mr. Householder, why would you allow Chief Baker to work without a contract under this city manager or the previous city manager for that length of time? Would you kindly respond to that in your next transparent YouTube video? Does the interim police chief have a contract? I'm guessing you'd answer the latter in the affirmative. Mr. Fellows, I'm curious to know when you met with Gary regarding his contract. Can you give this audience the dates and times you met Chief Baker? What were the loggerheads in settling his contract? Wages, benefits, hours? If you were unable to resolve the matter of Chief Baker's contract, was the city council consulted? If so, who did you consult and when did you meet with them? Would I be wrong in asserting that the only time you met was September 2nd when he was issued the ultimatum, retire or be fired? And since you work at the behest of the council, I'm sure this audience would be indebted to know who or whom directed you to issue Gary the ultimatum. Is anyone else curious to know who wrote his retirement letter? Was it Gary? Was it Mr. Fellows or the city's attorney? Does anyone else in this audience find it curious that Gary's replacement started work the day after Gary's, quote, retirement? How is it that Gary could retire at 5 p.m. on Tuesday and an interim replacement start the next morning? Can anyone on the council explain this string of events? Again, I assert that Gary didn't have any option but to retire or be fired. The wheels were already in motion to oust him. I also find it deeply disturbing that the city manager and city council have spun in the media the firing of Gary Baker as his, quote, retirement. Again, I quote the September 4th Herald Palladium article. When asked whether Baker was in a position of losing his job, Fellows said, quote, "We talked about where things were going and what he wanted to do and different options. I said I think there's an opportunity to transition in a calm and collected way and amicably. He was interested in an amicable transition." Mr. Fellows, you completely evaded the reporter's question. If you believe you did answer it completely or transparently, I'd call it evasive at best and nefarious at worst. So I'll ask it again. Was Chief Baker in a position of losing his job? Again, I asked Mr. Fellows, what were the different options? I'll answer that for you. There weren't any options. Being issued an ultimatum that you tender your resignation or be fired leaves one to believe that a, quote, retirement was the only option on the table for Gary September 2nd. If, Mr. Fellows, he left amicably, as you have been quoted as claiming, has the city announced a date, time, and place to celebrate his retirement? I believe that the council has acted in a reprehensible manner regarding the retirement of Chief Baker. I'm under the distinct impression that certain members of this council have, for a number of years, had it in for our police department in general, and Gary Baker specifically. There's been a witch hunt for Gary's job since the unpopular firing of a city officer several years ago. Even more disturbing is that one or two council members have manipulated and or bullied the rest of the council into believing that doing away with our police department will be good for the citizens of Bangor. I, for one, believe quite the opposite. I hope the voters of Bangor see the handwriting on the wall.
May I? My name is Jennifer Carpio-Zeller. I'm going to lean on you all those, okay?
Go for it.
All right. I'm here tonight because I'm also deeply saddened by the recent early retirement of yet another longtime Bangor resident and Bangor employee. Most of you sitting up there, with maybe the exception of Danny Fry, at some point in time has shared disparaging remarks about both men, Steve Lauder and Gary Baker, and on record. Now you've gotten your way, and they're gone. So now what? You've also made promises regarding transparency, saving money. It's not your job to save money, it's your job to spend our tax money correctly or give it back. Lowering water bills and keeping things local. The water bills increased. I'm concerned with what I've seen in the budget. I've taken a good look at it and I have some big questions. And not only have you removed locals from their jobs, you've created an environment in which people don't trust Bangor's decisions. I've researched previous minutes to find conversations and decisions that might provide some insight into the new direction that you guys are taking with the DPW and the police department. I don't find them. I don't understand. How can these changes happen without some acknowledgement, some decision made in public forum? Again, that's part of transparency. I've talked with many that are concerned with the direction of our town. So I'm not alone when I say we are looking forward to your transparency from today forward. When do you plan to share the reasonings that you have on the things that you've done? And when are you going to start sharing your plan of transition of things to come? Because right now, it looks like we're going to be contracted out to people, no offense, outside our community. Right now, it looks as if you don't want to hold up your end of the promises you made during your election. Let's not be like the rest of the political situation out there. How about you start getting us a reason to trust you all? Thank you.
Mine's on city council. I was told at the last, I'm Kathy Sparks, by the way, Markovich Sparks. I was told at the last meeting I was at, I needed to make up a proposal in order to have a city ball league. I did the best of my knowledge because I don't know how to do a proposal. So here's my letter I wrote. Dear City Council members, we are interested in having a slow pitch softball league here in town beginning around April or May of the 2015 year, depending on weather. We never know when it's going to snow. We are thinking there will be roughly 8 to 10 teams and 3 games per night. We will work around other events, organizations that come about, and I just want to thank you for your consideration. If there's any questions, it's on my name and numbers on here. I will pass it this way, and thank you.
I have a question. My name is Gussie Driver. I thought years ago we had a curfew for kids in the city. It don't seem to be like that because we can drive by 12 or 1 o'clock at night and we see little kids like babies running up and down the city. That shouldn't be. That's unsafe for the kids, and also it's not only kids. It should be that you should get hard on the parents because the parents should have the kids at home where they belong.
I'm Kay Abbott from Bangor. Last meeting I was to, you told us very proudly that our police department was not going to go anywhere. Yet our chief is going. What happened? I've known Baker 30 years. I own 2 homes here in this town. I paid my taxes. He's a good policeman. Where did it all come about that he had to be gone? Now, is this a snowball effect? You're going to keep going until you get all our officers out of here? You don't need them. You're doing this, you're doing that, until they're all gone and this committee gets their way to get rid of them. We'd like to know a few things. We live in this town. Thank you.
Just very quickly, my name is Wolfgang. I'm a business owner. How I think about a town, is like a tree, and this seems to be a relatively old tree. Now, I've been here for 7 years, so I'm just a little twig. So when you clip me off that tree, this little twig, most likely nothing is going to happen to that tree. What I see you guys doing over here is you're cutting some pretty big branches off. And it starts and you seem to keep going on this. Now, you got to be careful when these branches become too big that the whole tree is not going to die. I think that it's quite a danger of what you're doing. I think things are not done with due diligence. I have asked the questions like you asked. What happened with that conversation between the city manager and Mr. Baker? Well, the lawyer jumped in, but I still got no answer. I think the transparency in this cutting of big branches is quite dangerous. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Greg Morsaw. I live at 206 South Center Street. And since I moved in there 3 years ago, that I noticed that we have not had any consistency in our water bill. It goes up and down. Not one month has it ever been consistent. I see $238. It'll drop down to $80. Next month will be $135. Next month after that it'll be $160. Just continuous. And I've come up here and I've asked ever since I've lived here what's going on. I can't get a straight answer. And I know that I've asked other people around the town if they have any problems with their water bill, and they say that they do. I really would like an answer, because I feel that I've paid way over what our bill should be. You know, if I use the $90 worth of water a month, then I deserve to pay $90. But if I don't use $90, then I shouldn't have to pay $238. Or, I mean, just going back 2 months ago, my bill was like $186 for 1 month. Then it dropped down to like $79. And then it went back up to $170. And then it went back down to $80. Not any month have I had 3 months in a row that has been consistent. And there needs to be something done. And I don't want someone to just say, I'll look into it. If they're going to look into it, then I want a response saying this is what they found. I've had 4 people from the Department of Public Works come in and look at my home. There's no water leaks. Because if there's a leak, it would leak every month. It wouldn't stop 1 month and then start back up the next month. So we need to have something done. I know at least at 206 South Center Street there's an issue there, and I'm tired of throwing away money if I'm not using that water. So I would like somebody to look into that for me. Thank you.
All right, any more? Moving down the list is old business. Update on the West Burlington Street project.
In the council packet, I included some email correspondence. I've been working with our engineer, Whiteman and Associates, coordinating with the Michigan Department of Transportation. We don't have a final outcome yet for the stormwater catch basin on the top. That's something we're still working out. I was initially emailed that we might be able to have an answer in time for this meeting. That hasn't happened yet. So I'm going to continue to work on that, and when I have something new, I'll let you know.
Did you ask, I believe we had talked about who was responsible, and we had given our consent that we had wanted it to happen either way, but in your discussion, did you talk about who was responsible for that, or if there'd be any sharing of the cost, or was that just going to come out of our...
That's still to be resolved.
I'm saying, did you have that discussion with anybody, or no?
We've been talking about that. So that's been part of what we discussed.
Okay.
So that's still to be resolved.
All right. Going down the list. Next one was police car request authorization. I think when we talk about this, I didn't speak to our interim police chief. By winter time, we have to make a decision, getting something done. Right now, it looks like one of our police cars, one of the older Impalas, or both Impalas, needs some upgrades, repairs. Even though we purchased another police car right away, we still wouldn't get it in time with the program to have it here by winter. So I know there's some costs out there pretty high with PCI. I request the chief to look into if we can get a better discount price than some of our PCI and just do the smell test. From a standpoint, they were talking about changing a couple oil cooler lines with $1,000. I know I did contact Bell Tire today, roughly on the phone, and they're saying usually you buy the pre-fitted lines through General Motors and hook them up. It doesn't take much time. They have to get with General Motors, but they're thinking more like $200 to $300. If it needs wheel bearings, Those things are usually the hubs with bearings installed, about $303 a piece. Sometimes you replace one, sometimes you have to replace both of them. Sway bars, typically the linkage goes bad on those. Per side installation and buying them, usually about $60, $70 each. Bushings are bad, and you're talking about another $50 to $60 for bushings and a sway bar. Typically the sway bars aren't bad unless they get hit, they're bent. Same thing with the oil cooler lines. It's a 2009, I wouldn't think they're rusted already. Usually cooler lines doesn't go bad unless they get damaged. Okay, so that's something, you know, needs to be repaired. I think we need to get some repairs done, but we just go out and do the practical price of, you know.
So what's the plan at this point? Are we trying to get basically a better quote, and then we're looking to fix what we have until we can figure out something else? Is that what we're saying?
Well, there's some of these repairs were stuff that we had to implement immediately because we were in danger of having no patrol car on the road.
Okay.
So we had to implement those immediately.
Which would be
for the rest of it, I wanted to say that
which would be what? When you said that they were implemented immediately, that wasn't explained to us in the council packet, so now I'm going to ask you in front of everyone.
Okay, that's fair enough. There was several, Chief and I met with PCI, and it was about a week ago, was it? Do you remember if it was Monday or Tuesday? I can't remember which day it was.
One of the two.
And we were looking at the condition of the motor vehicle fleet. We have 3 patrol cars. One of them is, the oldest one is pretty much off the road, is not being acceptable to use.
I seen the council packet. I'm just not trying to cut you off.
For the benefit of everyone in the audience who may not have seen the council packet. So when we were looking at the condition of the cars, we were aware that the newest car looked like it needed to come in, and sorry, I don't remember the specific reason for the newest car, but we were looking at a condition where we were going to have that car rotated out because it needed to be worked on, and because of that need, the 2009 Chevy Impala needed to be made where it would be able to be patrollable. So those were the repairs that needed to happen immediately. And I very much appreciate the expertise that Nick has in particular. He's very knowledgeable about this. This is going to be very helpful going in the future to make sure that we get good prices for the cars.
Okay. So are you saying that the repairs that were in the council packet that you said need to be made to the 2009 Impala, are you saying that's something you went ahead and did?
For the 2009 Impala, yes, I had to do those.
So you already authorized it at $4,000 almost?
$3,737.59 for the 2009 Impala number 49 vehicle.
Per the city's charter ordinances, the budget that was approved by this council.
That came out of the police budget?
Out of the police budget. That was what was needed to be done right then in order to keep our fleet functional for the needs of the city.
We just need to do better next time on our prices, because I'm sorry, but those prices are outrageous. PCI, I don't know what their deal is, but as far as what it was PCI, was it not?
Not PCI themselves. They had to hire to work out.
Okay.
It's being farmed out.
Well,
do you know who you're farming it to?
I don't know that. So.
I was under the understanding it was somebody that they deal with as their mechanic. But either way, that seems like an outrageous price, and we should try to manage our money better.
Yeah, all the way around. But what gives us the right to say that to him? He's got to
well,
act
because
right
we have an yeah, I know, and I mean that's something we can't do anything about.
I criticize him all night long, but the fact is the car had to be put on the road, and Chief made the decision along with the city manager.
And I said for the
pay to make those decisions.
For the future, we need to look at better spending our money.
We can go to what is it called, Earl Scheib. You probably get a lot of work done there for $25. But is the quality going to be there? Is that
right? But if you look at if you actually looked at the council packet there and seen the prices in there, when you're saying $300 and something for an oil cooler line, So you have 2 of them, that's $600.
We've got 2 people making those decisions.
Right.
And that's what we have to live with.
Well, that's not quite how that works.
Have-
We're here for a reason.
Come on.
I have a question. Have we looked into replacing the tires? Because I know that was a great concern, that we still have snow tires on and the tires are mismatched. Have we looked into that
That was in the
and
package,
gotten
too.
any quotes?
Yes.
In the packet too.
Yes, we're getting new tires, absolutely.
Okay, good.
And, you know, I really didn't ever want to get in this position in the first place where our fleet was in such dire shape that it required fast action in order to keep us running.
But we have 2 police cars right now?
Right.
And is the Charger roadworthy?
It is. Let me just back up just a couple minutes so that for clarity, for those who don't have the package in front of you. When I first got here, one of the first things I did was look at your fleet. Your fleet was pretty much substandard for patrol cars. They had not been taken care of. Now there's 2 things that will cost the city liability. Number 1 is an officer. Biggest. Police departments don't earn any money, they burn money. Your police officer is the biggest liability you have. The second is your fleet. When I looked at your fleet, it was really substandard. I wouldn't put it on the road, and I would not have an officer drive it. You had 1 patrol car that was being driven almost 24/7 here, being driven into the dirt. The second patrol car that was semi-workable had so many problems that I could not put an officer in there and have him drive around the city. It just was that bad. So I met with the PCI. We went over those vehicles. My short-term goal was to get a couple vehicles worthy of the winter so that by spring you'll have a replacement vehicle. We could find the funding for that. So we had PCI, who has the contract in the city, do evaluation of those vehicles. We came up with a plan to put about $4,000 into the 2009 so it was workable. That way the 2012 Dodge Charger could get a rest. We also were going to put new tires on those vehicles because we had mismatched tires. That is liability in itself. The city, one of my primary responsibilities, and I will say this time and time again, is to limit the liability that's facing this city, facing the municipality that I work for. I've been doing this 35 years. If we're going to try to save $1 at the expense of somebody's life or injury, we're going to be in big trouble. We're either going to write a small check or we're going to write a big check. And because I'm the city chief here now, my name goes on the top of that lawsuit, and I'm not going to have that happen. I'm going to demand that we make sure people are safe, that our vehicles are safe, the equipment we use are safe. If we're not going to do that, then I won't stay here. I will leave. We made a decision to fix the fleet so that we could have our cars out there on the road and the officers safe and people safe. We fixed the fleet. Now we're working on some other issues. And hopefully with the help of the council, we'll get some things straightened. We'll be here on an interim basis. When you get your new chief, he can make a long-term plan. But for the next 90 days that I'm here, we'll make sure that we're operating in a safe manner. That's my job, and I'll make sure we do it correctly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So where are we at?
So the reason this is on the agenda is due to the USDA's letter stipulating that for that grant we have a narrow window to apply for it. And if the council wishes me to pursue it, I can. It's up to you guys.
Grant 50/50 or?
It's actually 60/40.
We pay 60 or?
Yes.
60/40. We pay 60.
Are we still looking at the SUV model, or what were we looking at? I know that's what we had talked about at one time. Are we still looking?
I don't even think we had talked about it. PCI had brought in just a sample quote, I think, from a surrounding, or somebody brought a quote from a surrounding community that had ordered one and showed us what they had paid for it, I think is what we seen. For around 25,000.
Yes,
yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we pursue purchasing an SUV type vehicle for the police department.
Do we know that?
We're using their grant money as part payment.
No support.
Is this new or used?
New.
Do we know that a utility version as opposed to the car is the better option? Is that something that the chief wants?
Well, it's not what I want. It's what the
Well, I mean
industry is calling for.
that you think that we should be using.
The SUVs are just as economical to operate as any four-wheel vehicle. In Michigan, you've got 4 months of winter. You've got inclement weather in the spring. You need a vehicle that you can go off-road. You need a vehicle that you can travel in the snow and inclement weather. You're going to see a lot more SUVs in the fleet for every police agency, from the state police down to locals. I'm merely suggesting that you look at an SUV for your fleet, not necessarily telling you that's what you need.
So why don't we explore the options there, you know, because I'm not sure, I think there's like a 6 mile to the gallon difference almost between the...
If you get a V6, and I have a V6 in my fleet, it rivals the V8s that I have.
So you don't see any additional cost to the
I've had no
utility?
additional cost to my Durango.
Okay.
But again, I can bring you, if you'd like, I can bring you some comparisons.
No, we were given a quote though for the Ford utility, right?
I saw that quote from
Okay.
PCI.
You know, we had a bad winter, and they're predicting another really bad winter. We need something that we're sure is gonna get around in this bad weather.
I was just concerned with getting something, if the fuel mileage is about the same, there's no reason not to. There's more room inside it. I'm all for it. I just didn't want to spend an extra 6 miles to the gallon driving
I hate to rain on
around.
this parade, but I have a question. Okay, we've got an old police car, being the 2007 Chevy Impala. The 2009 is old. That's been just brought up to, it will work as a second car. We have the 2012 Dodge. Okay. We're kind of at a point where, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna find somebody to be a police chief here for $30,000, $40,000 a year? I don't wanna buy a new police car and then turn around and have to hand it off to the county if we're going that way.
That's not how that works.
I know you're gonna say that, but I'm saying, if we can't find anybody to take our police chief's job for the amount of money that we can afford, I don't wanna give somebody a brand new car because we've changed our minds.
Danny, I don't think that's anybody's intention on this board, is to hire the county.
And on top of that, we wouldn't give them our equipment, but that's not even been talked about. Oh my gosh, that's been 6 months or a year since anyone suggested it, and no one on the council has suggested it.
I asked a question.
Yeah, well,
I'm saying I don't think anybody on the council
say
would want
we're-
that.
I think we need our police department.
Educating our police department.
Exactly.
Otherwise, we wouldn't buy new equipment.
So I think that's commitment, if you're going to spend $25,000, $30,000.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not into doing that at all. If we're gonna keep it and make a commitment, we need to make a commitment and stick with it.
Yeah. So there's a motion on the table. Any more discussion?
Wait, can I discuss still?
Go
Or
ahead,
what?
still open discussion.
Is this still to come out of the police equipment and building fund?
That's where we had left it in the budget.
Hmm.
You know,
So I guess you guys are staying in your closet.
You know, we got to look at
What's
safety
safe?
and liability. I know the police department is really inconvenient where they're at, but as far as when you got limited funds, you got to go for the safety and liability limits.
Well, I think it's being
That's the reason I think we
portrayed
ought to
though
go
that,
with the new vehicle.
I think it's being portrayed that they're purposely being left in that closet, and I think that police equipment and building fund was supposed to get them out of that closet, and I hate to see us spend that money. I'd like to see it come out of the budget, not, you know, the police budget instead of, or somewhere. I just don't like the idea of us draining that fund and having no money towards putting them, you know, everything that's requested from the police department, aside from this last thing, which I appreciate that came out of the police budget instead of the police equipment and building fund, but there's not much money in that, and I don't want to spend it all.
That sounds great, and that's ideal, but as Chief Pompey said, I mean, we have to keep them safe and we have to decrease our liability. So they spend more time in the car than they do in the office.
Right.
So I think it makes more sense to have the vehicle right now and
There's
try to
motion.
mismatch.
There's motion on the table, been second. Can we get the roll call, please?
Councilmember Koenig.
No.
Councilmember Tanner.
Yes.
Councilmember Hicks.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Frye.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Farmer.
Yes.
Mayor Householder.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carried. Going down the list is new business. Up front, there's a site plan review for McDonald's. It was reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission earlier this week. What they're looking at is making standardized, as you see some other McDonald's, where they have two entrance coming up for drive-through. And it's also beneficial to McDonald's from a standpoint, it gives them a little bit more time while you're ordering food, so when it comes around, you order, you come around, they have your food ready for you. That's how it was presented to the Planning Commission this week. It's standardized. They're also putting a sidewalk in, so people don't have to walk up and down through the parking lot. But anybody would like to review it and see it, it's right at the end of the table.
You're looking for a vote to approve this?
Well, first I was looking for more comments. Yes, if I can get a motion.
I'll make a motion. I was on that commission also, and I voted to approve their plan, and I would like to make a motion that the council approves the McDonald's Planning Commission recommendation to.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Next one is boards and commissions appointments.
Okay, I just want to let everyone know that we did receive a letter of retirement from Alice from the fire board. She's not leaving immediately. She's going to stay for the next month's meeting, so there's not an immediate need to appoint a replacement. But I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that, and I think the clerk did receive a letter of interest from Councilmember Bader, right? Okay. And so it's at your pleasure if you wanted to wait until the next meeting or whatever you wish to do.
Can I ask a question? Yeah. How long do we have to turn a letter in?
That's up to this body to decide that.
Well, I think we can wait until the next meeting. We don't have to decide this meeting.
Cool.
Let's table it, and other people can apply, and we'll go from there.
Okay. And also, there's a letter of interest from James Culver for the Economic Development Corporation. And
do what now? Can you say that one more time?
The letter of intent from James Claver that we
Claver, okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's it. Got it.
The EDC position is one that's appointed by the mayor with a majority of the city council for approval.
Yes, I would appoint him to the EDC. I'd like to ask support for the city council to make a motion for that and approve it. He has came to some of the meetings. He's local, and I believe he would like to participate, and we are behind on folks who want to join some of these committees.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint James Claver to the EDC.
And if I may, for the minutes, we call that through term December 31st, 2016.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Not at this time.
What vacancies do we have on the committees?
The Zoning Board of Appeals, the there's Parks and Recreation has a vacancy, Senior Services, some more on the EDC, and that's it.
And this is for the public and everybody else. I mean, if people want to participate in these committees, all they gotta do is let us know, and we can probably get you on them most of the time, because we are lacking a lot of support from the public. Jumping on these committees that's been died for over the years. We're just trying to get compliance with state requirements. No certain agenda. We'd like to get them filled where we can get participation from the public and they can make changes in their community. like I said, a lot of these have been open for years. We're talking 10+ years.
Ryan, was the vacancy filled on the DDA?
No, that's another one. Yes, there's still an at-large position on the DDA.
So even the DDA, but there's a requirement in that,
There's
isn't
one
there?
in the tree board as well. The DDA is an at-large position, so that can come from anyone in the community.
Alrighty, the next one was on the amended agenda for the sewer at the post office.
Yes, for this item, there was a fairly heavy rain. It had caused the toilets at the post office to kind of bubble up. Ordinarily, if a sanitary sewer line that goes to the post office should not be affected by rainwater. So investigation found that apparently for all of these years, since the 60s or whenever, it's been the sanitary sewer line at the post office is not connected to sanitary sewer, it's connected to the city's storm drain system. So I had to let the post office and their property owner know that that wasn't permitted, that we have to stop use of the toilets, the sanitary sewer waste going into the storm drain system. So they have a porta potty at the moment.
What date was that?
I'm afraid I don't have that right in front of me.
Do you have an idea how long ago that was?
Was that the day that email you sent out?
11.
It was a couple of days before that email went out when I was doing the research on it.
September 2nd was that flooding.
Okay.
Okay.
Day after Labor Day. It's flooded before, but the one we're currently talking about, or overflowed,
Okay.
is September 2nd.
So where do we stand on that? What's being done at this point?
There's a question as to the appropriate elevation on the site, how deep the sanitary sewer line is buried along the street compared to where from the building the sanitary sewer waste would exit. And it looks like, just eyeballing it, and we need to check to know, that from where the building sanitary sewer waste would exit does not allow for enough gravity fall for the pipe to enter into the sanitary sewer line that's in front of their building. So they're going to have to look at possibly other options.
So when you say we, who is we? When is this being done?
PCI is working on the elevations question.
I think we need to set some deadlines with some of these things, just like where we stand with the issue for US Diecast. I'm sure that work has been made on that, but I think we need to make sure that these are done in a timely manner because, for example, this situation is a landlord-tenant situation, and I know some of that's not our responsibility, but we need to figure out how it happened, what happened, who's responsible, and get it taken care of within a short amount of time, not drag this out and say, so, yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, the thing with US Diecast, my gosh, how many months has that been?
Well,
there was an exploratory dig.
The initial letter from Michigan Department of Environmental Quality was last fall before I started here. And in that letter, it directed the property owner of US Diecast to remedy the situation without regard to city involvement, stating that per law, it was the responsibility of the property owner to tap into the sewer.
I'm well aware of that.
And that is, well, for the benefit of the audience here.
Okay.
The same situation is holding true here for the property owner of the post office. It's the property owner's responsibility to tie their building to appropriate sanitary sewer.
So, what is PCI doing at this point? They are just checking the grade of the pipe there?
I don't think that's necessarily all that they're doing, but that's one of the things that they're doing in order to help out.
What I'm trying to do...
It's supposed to be a assistive move. It's not something that our ordinance requires them to do, but I think it's a nice thing to do for the community to
I
try to help
understand
out.
that, but we need to get to a point where this is taken care of, so I want to know where we're at, what we have to do, what they have to do, and how we can make sure that this gets done, because this can't drag out for a year.
I agree, it should not drag out for a year.
So is PCI going to do an exploratory dig there to see where that's at?
No, I do not think that's called for in this situation.
Are they going to be able to check it a different way?
Well, I think they're gonna have to check the elevation first thing. I mean, one thing you tie in city sewer, and you
How
don't
do
have
they-
enough gravity. it's
How do
not
they
gonna
check
flow.
the elevation on that without digging it up?
You don't have to do it.
Okay. So when, do you know when they plan to do that?
I do not know. I did not come prepared for this again, I'm afraid.
But I guess can we give these people some idea, because the post office right now is using a porta potty, and we certainly don't want them in December still using a porta potty.
You got it.
You know, I mean, I wouldn't like that, and I'm sure they're not real thrilled about that either, so. So can we develop a timeline here when those things will be addressed?
If you guys give me a chance to work on it, I can come back with authoritative information.
Okay, can you email that to us?
Okay?
So we can let both the landlord and the tenant know what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, PCI has taken on themselves or have been directed to check out the elevation.
That's correct.
Okay, and are you expecting to hear back from them relatively soon on that?
Correct.
Okay, and you'll get to us in the meantime with the rest of the information. Now, I would also like to see the information that I requested, just like I did for US Diecast, as far back as we have what's been paid on sewer and water there. So just so that's known, I want to see that in that information.
That is going to be a lengthy process to do that.
Whatever we
research.
have on the computers that's easily accessible is a good start for me. That's good enough for now, as far as what I'm looking for.
Easily accessible is kind of a broad phrase.
Whatever is in the BSNA software is what I would like to see.
What we've done for the report last time for US Diecast, we had looked up each monthly billing and wrote down how much the sewer part was versus the water part, and added all those numbers up after checking each month. So that takes time. I'm just letting you know.
That's what I would like to see.
Okay.
All right. Move down the list. The next issue we're going to talk to is the opportunity for public comments again. Please keep your comments under 3 minutes and be respectful. I think there was a lady. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. My name is Roberta Nichols. I'm the postmaster at the Bangor Post Office. Kathy Reinhardt is here also. She's a co-worker at the office. Just so everyone knows, and for public record, what the staff and what we are enduring and have endured at the post office is of course unacceptable. I have asked, Leonard Lux was one. I think I tried to ask the city manager, spoke with the council, and of course the landlord, Bev Florian. I asked for the pipes, and Leonard Lux mentioned it when he said we had to stop using the facilities and we needed to start using a porta potty. That was being brought in immediately. The DNR or whoever were in violation, of course, because the waste has been going in the storm drain for 50 years that we were not aware of. Okay, so we've done all that. He said they were going to cap, so if we get more rain, the toilets, the sewage would not end up on the workroom floor. We have to deliver the mail. We can't stop. The day after Labor Day, we move 4 days of mail with flooding from the toilets and the roof. The landlord's been notified by the Postal Service by proper procedures. She has a deadline to get this done. We have health and safety issues for all of us in that building. And all I ask, and for public record, we need this handled as soon as possible. We have our holiday season coming. We have a porta potty on our back dock where the trucks come in, unload. We dispatch every day, 3-4 trucks coming and going all the time, and it's only going to get worse. And it's very degrading and very embarrassing to use a porta potty at our place of work, and we are the post office. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I had a question about that comment. If Leonard said that they were going to cap the toilets, has that been done?
No, I think there was just a miscommunication about that issue, and I apologize for the miscommunication.
So if she was told by a city employee that it was going to be done by the city, that's a miscommunication because we don't want to do it? Is that?
I'm not quite sure exactly.
Are you saying that it's
Leonard
not our responsibility to do that?
What I'm saying is, first, it's not a city responsibility to do it. Second, I don't know the content of what Leonard said, you know, and I can ask him about it and try to get a better understanding of that.
Whose responsibility is it?
The property owner.
Is their sewer bill being waived in the meantime while this is handled, since they are no longer,
Yes.
well, they were never dumping into the sewer?
Yes, we're not charging for sanitary sewer.
Okay, well, I think once we heard from the postmaster, it's imperative that we help do something.
Well, I think right away, you know, it's their responsibility, but we should also support them from a standpoint. One thing is using the porta potty. Second thing is that water's backfilling, we're pushing it right back up in the post office.
Right.
So whatever resources we need, we should try at least look back, cap it or whatever, support them, or at least give them the knowledge. Recommend contractors whatever needs to be done, so the stormwater's not going back into the post office, popping back their traps, getting the smell back in their facility with the sewage.
I would still like answers as far as to how that even happened in the first place and who's responsible for making sure that someone is connected to the sanitary sewer as opposed to the storm drain, and whether it was someone that was hooked up to the wrong thing by accident, someone didn't check to make sure it was changed over, whatever it is. We've been billing, just like we do at US Diecast, for treated sewage that we did not treat. So we didn't render the service, and that puts us in the same boat as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so we do have a commitment that we're gonna get on this as soon as possible, ASAP.
Yes.
I mean, this is our post office for our city that should not be living in this. Okay.
Are you still in the citizens' comments portion of this?
Yes. Still?
My name is Anna, and I live at 206 South Center Street, and I'm just wondering, all these public comments that are made, when do we hear back from those comments? Like, our problem or issue is with the water, as, you know, obviously the post office has more of an issue, but ours is with the bill that's coming, and it's up and down. I want to know when we'll hear back.
We can add that to our agenda. Also, we did have a complaint or comment section where they could actually write down the comments for the city to get back with you. But I think based on the water issue, I think we can put that on our city manager where he can look into it and give you feedback at the next city council meeting if you'd like.
Okay.
Right.
Barry Turtelada. I'm behind the post office, and believe me, they're inconvenienced quite considerably because outhouse sucks out there. It's not good, the weather, the trucking, everything else, but they might want to consider tying into the property where basically I want to say the museum possibly might be built, or Dee's Beauty Shop, or go to the north, because you have the elevation, and all you've got to do is tie into the line over the ravine, and maybe versus putting a lift station in. But if everybody's looking to grade, I doubt the grade's ever going to work out the way you're thinking. So might be a consideration to go to the north off the back of the building, head towards the sewer line down the ravine, and tie in there. Might be a better idea. Maybe you could tie into the one that was there for Dee's. I don't know. But I don't think they're looking at the options yet. They should consider them. But they need to be hooked up before winter.
Any other comments?
Yeah, my name's Lynn Johnson. I work in the community, been around here for a long time. I kind of came tonight a couple of where I wanted to see what's going on with some rumors and stuff. And I know it's their comments, so we're not going to get responses back, but I'm hoping, you know, a lady from the paper will pick them up and ask the same questions after so we can see the answers. Two concerns I had were when I say, well, in a small town, when you hear rumors and stuff of what's happening, I know I go out of my way for everything I can for Bangor, whether it's at schools, community, city, things like that. And negative publicity, negative comments, rumors, things like that. It's your guys' area where you can help quell those and put them aside. So I just wanted to throw out there two things that I've heard. One is that there is an agenda with public officials, starting with Steve, down to Chief, and that there's a list of 2 or 3 other people that some council members have. So hopefully, you know, if Becky asks that question, somebody give an answer instead of a no comment, because that kind of gives guilt if I say I'm not going to talk about it. Second one being a public meeting. Our chief just retired, and this didn't come from him, but another rumor I heard that the city manager told him he was not allowed to attend tonight.
I did not say he's not allowed to attend.
That's why I said there were rumors. That's 2 things I heard I wanted to bring up. So, you know, that's why I came here tonight. And welcome, Chief Pompey.
Thank you.
Any more comments?
One more. Thank you for fixing like the 10 feet of Alexander Street so far.
I agree. I agree. I asked about that earlier.
I have a quick question regarding the agenda and something that's in the minutes. So at the beginning you talked about approving the minutes and you tabled them, but in here it says August 18th. I'm assuming that you approved August 18th at the September 2nd meeting and that you actually meant September 2nd.
Yeah, I meant the...
Okay, so then my next question would be, did you approve August 18th's meetings?
The August 18th were approved at the prior meeting.
Because I have a question on the wording on the water meters. It's unclear to me whether you're talking about the contract with PCI on the water meters, or is there, you guys have a contract with PCI currently, correct?
We have a letter of understanding. The contract is being worked out right now.
Okay.
Any more comments?
I've got one. So you go ahead.
Surprised to hear about all the problems with police cars here tonight. I'm curious to know who's currently maintaining our police fleet. If we've got mismatched tires, we've got cars that are unsuitable to drive on the road, who's doing preventive maintenance on these cars? Does anybody know?
That's what we're looking into now.
We're trying to correct problems from that.
Hopefully we're not expecting our police officers to do it.
Nope.
I find it curious that nobody knows. And cars are being scrapped and pushed over here in front of DPW, and now we're going to bring them back. Has anybody even looked at what the depreciated value of those cars are? Were they worth $2,000, $3,000? We're pumping $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 into them?
We have looked at those. Before we made a decision as to what vehicles we were going to keep and what vehicles we were going to get rid of, we did make take an entire look at the depreciation of what they were worth.
I think what's more disconcerting, though, is that nobody's taking care of them.
Well,
nobody knows who's taking care of them.
I'll tell you, I looked at your budget from last year and looked at your budget for this year. And unlike my budget in Cloma Township, I have a preventive maintenance budget for maintenance. You don't have one here. So your vehicles really were, they probably did the maintenance that was required, but those police vehicles are driven like you would not believe.
Well, I understand.
Every week, every day there'll be something wrong with them.
But
so
if we do preventive maintenance on them, we'll get more life out of them.
Absolutely. Those vehicles will last 150, 200,000 miles if you do preventive maintenance. Yeah, there you go. Easy for you to say. But I didn't see anything that was preventive in nature. And again, I'm only here for a short period of time. Hopefully you're next chief. And I'm not here to lay blame on anybody. I want to make sure that's right up front. I'm only telling you what I saw as I evaluated your fleet as we do our own. And I don't know, and I don't care whether the ball was dropped. The fact is we have to fix it now so we can move forward.
Go ahead. Good question. I'm hearing a lot these DPI or DPW or the people, PCI, what is their name? Is that in there, or, I mean, I know we don't have a contract, but is that one of their jobs to look at the cars? That is agreed in the contract? That's what they get paid for, to look at those? Or do we pay them extra to look at those cars?
The contract hasn't been worked out yet, but we're gonna talk about that during the city attorney's report.
Well, it seems to take quite some time too. Last time, the last meeting, the city attorney said he would have it done within 2 weeks. That would be today, and today you don't have it done either, I guess. So are they charging us to look at these cars? I mean, they evidently know car mechanics, right? So my question is, we have local people, right? I mean, so the city doesn't bring the car to let's say, to Danny's or to somewhere in South Haven. They know. They have somebody else look at it, and then that, I mean, evidently EPI is not doing the work, right?
All of the work that PCI has done has been for one fee. They've not charged an individual fee above and beyond that.
So they did the work, or somebody else did the work?
They contract out for a lot of their different work.
Specifically,
well,
the
I mean,
police,
we have
police
people
cars.
in town.
Right.
We have people in town. Why can't we go? I mean, we have an out-of-town company. Our own people get laid off. We bring them the cars out of town. I wonder what next they take over. Maybe they take my place over too. And then we got these tremendous amounts of money. I mean, if I bring it someplace and that person looks at it and fixes it, it's one cost. If I bring it someplace and he looks at it, get somebody else to look at it, there got to be a cost involved in the middle. It's all extra money.
Mr. Mayor, the comments are just for the benefit of everybody here are amongst the comments that I'll be addressing in the city attorney's report. So hopefully that information can be presented here shortly. It's information the council is not aware of.
Okay, thank you. Any more comments?
I got something on the DPW. I've heard that from somebody that the DPW, that they're supposed to pick up the brush and stuff. We used to have things in the reminder about it. Nothing's in the reminder about brush pickup. And this person had to do a work order at City Hall to get the brush picked up. And then it still didn't get picked up. And then she come to City Hall, and it still didn't get picked up. Finally, she called a council member, and that council member acted on it. Why does that have to be done to get brush picked up? And then we got leaves coming. What about the leaves? Are we just going to have to just put them down over the hill, or what? What's going to go on with the leaves with this new company? At least the old DPW firm picked up the leaves, but Steve was doing a bad job. He picked up picked up brush, but oh no, they were doing a bad job.
Any more comments?
How many officers we have in the city of Bangor?
Currently we have 3 full-time officers.
3.
And we have 3 part-time.
2 part-time.
And 2 part-time.
2 part-time.
And also then there's chief.
You know Bangor are turning into a little Chicago.
Someone told me that last week.
Do you know y'all running all the people, y'all running all the thugs out of the park, but you know where they at now? Over where we live at. This is little Chicago. Detroit. We not safe.
Any more comments? Let's kick this over to,
Can I ask a question before we go on?
Go ahead.
In our packet, we have a letter from Chief Pompey about our bullet-resistant vest recommendations.
Okay.
Everybody have that? Read it?
I'm sure it's here.
Was that September 11th, 2014?
Was that in the first email, Ryan, or the second one?
It's part of the administration and department reports. So after the city attorney's report, I'll have where I report on the administration, and then each of the department reports will follow that.
You to approval accounts payable and payroll.
Okay, make a motion that we pay our payroll in the amount that we have accounts payable as of 9/16 was $278,866.57. As of 9/12, the payroll was $13,586.10 with a accounts payable total, including the payroll of $292,556.67.
Is there a second on that?
I second that motion.
Any discussion? Any roll call, please?
Councilmember Koenig?
Yes.
Councilmember Tanner?
Yes.
Councilmember Hicks?
Yes.
Councilmember Vader?
Yes.
Councilmember Frye?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Farmer?
Yes.
Mayor Householder?
Yes. Motion approved. Now going down the list is board, commission, department reports. Second meeting of the month. Let's start out with our city attorney, Ryan Novak.
I'm going to take a little different spin on my report tonight because after the public comment and the council feeling as though it's difficult to respond to some of this information without having all of the information, I wanted to offer some suggestions to the council that I think the council might prove useful, city manager might prove useful, and the people in attendance I think will definitely find useful. A lot of the comments as the council has heard tonight are really in the form of questions rather than just citizen comments. The purpose of offering public comment time during an open meeting is a long part of our history in this country about people being able to say their piece. Whatever's on their mind, express concerns, ask questions. My suggestion for this council is that you move your agendas, you change the order of your agendas so that the city manager can give his report up front, so that the city attorney can give his or her report up front, so that the fire chief can give his report up front, the police chief up front. I keep saying up front because I think that what the council will hear in those reports and the people who attend these meetings will hear in those reports will often address a lot of the questions that they have that they can't answer. The council it has been suggested to them, and quite rightly so, that public comment is not public dialogue. It is public comment. It's an opportunity to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to say what it is that they want to say and ask whatever questions that they want to ask. The council has several options, and one of those is if an item is particularly important, like I heard the water issue, the water bill issue came up tonight, and the mayor put it on the agenda for the next council meeting, and he is expecting the city manager to be able to address those questions specifically at the next city council meeting. And I expect the folks who have come here tonight and expressed those concerns will likely be here expecting an answer. And so, but public comment is not necessarily a public dialogue, but doesn't mean the questions go unanswered. Now, had I given my report up front, perhaps I could have addressed some of the questions that were represented and asked tonight. PCI contract. The gentleman was quite correct. I did state that I would hope to have it here tonight for voting for approval. However, in its present form, as proposed by PCI, there were concerns raised between myself and the city manager, indicative of the fact that PCI was assuming too much control over city property, control over city assets, control over city maintenance, and I'm going to use the police cars as an example. The police cars would be under the control of PCI as the director of the city's public works department. The way that it's written currently and what we're working with PCI on is that essentially that PCI would have control over the maintenance of that without having to go to local repair shops or anything like that. What we are working on to do is making sure that PCI comes back to the city manager and ultimately through the council to ensure that every avenue is being explored so that the city
can take their local vehicles to local shops if it's appropriate. The current contract as written by PCI, it's not signed by anyone, wouldn't have allowed for that, and so there's been enough concern raised that that's something that we're wanting to address.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Is it smart for us to leave that in PCI's hands? Because personally, I don't feel that's the best option for the city. So would that be something that we can just set a procedure for, and the chief of police can handle his own maintenance? We can set up preventive maintenance, which I have expressed great concern over preventive maintenance the past while. And then that way, the police department takes care of the police department, because I really don't like the idea of Public Works maintaining the motor pool for the police.
Well, ultimately what will happen is that this contract will come back to this council for approval, and the way that it's written currently is that PCI, as Director of Public Works, would have a control over the city's fleet of vehicles, and that would include the police cars. If that is not satisfactory to any council member, it could be raised at that time, or it could be raised now if the council were to vote and say we don't want PCI to have control over the police vehicles. But I can't do that based on the comments from one council member. It has to be an action from the council. So what the council's going to be presented with is a contract that would detail who's responsible for what between the city and PCI when handling the public works. It would also have addressed the concerns that outlining details in terms of PCI's obligation to pick up the brush, pick up the leaves, do all of those things. That these are contractual terms that are still being worked out. And so to the extent that there has been delay in those things, I will assume responsibility for that as well, because I'm trying to work out the best contract for the city of Bangor, so that the city manager and the city council have a say on exactly what's going on. And so that that's it with PCI. I do expect that my version, my draft of it is going to be to Mr. Fellows by the end of this week, and then after his review, I expect that he will share that with the council members individually through email, and then ultimately it will be in the hands of the attorneys for PCI, and hopefully we can have somebody here from PCI at the next meeting, whether it be council or from PCI. Is there a representative from PCI here tonight? No. Okay. One of the suggestions you all probably saw me lean in and talk to the mayor during the course of the meeting, and my note was specifically PCI needs to offer these explanations because PCI is the one handling most of these projects. My suggestion to the council is that PCI be one of those upfront reports that you pick the meeting. I don't know that it needs to be every meeting because you have 2 a month, but that's up to the council to decide. But I do suggest that your key players, your chief of police, your fire chief, your Department of Public Works folks, everybody who has provides specific services to the citizens of the city of Bangor, be present to offer a report and be able to answer some of these questions. I don't think the council is going to always have answers to these questions, and you rely on department heads to do it. And so my suggestion to the mayor was that I think PCI needs to have a representative, and that's already something that I've included in my changes to the draft contract, is that they will absolutely have a representative at one meeting per month. Other issues that I wanted to address tonight, one was the cemetery issue. The city was presented with a question regarding a gentleman who had discovered that a lot that he believed he and his family owned, that there was another individual not of his family that was buried in that lot. This was a good source for rumors and things that were going on. But after investigation, I can tell you with the evidence that we've been provided so far, it appears as though the gentleman who came to the city asking about this, that there was a transfer of his interest in the subject lot to a third party in the late 1970s. It was a transfer that happened pursuant to the terms of a judgment of divorce, which is not unusual. And it being 35 years ago, the gentleman simply may have failed to recall that this even took place. The city, this gentleman will be receiving correspondence from me that's been dictated and it's going out. The city clerk will receive a copy of that along with the city manager. And if the gentleman still disagrees, which is he may very well disagree, it's up to him to, if he wants to take action, which he has the opportunity to do. I also was asked prior to tonight's meeting to offer some comments regarding the Open Meetings Act. There have been questions regarding whether or not 4 council members can ever be present in the same room at the same time and violate the Open Meetings Act. The answer to that question is fairly simple, that all 7 of you can be in one room at one time without it being an open meeting, so long as city business is not being deliberated or action being taken. Meaning you can't discuss city business, you can't vote on city business if you're setting city policy. I've outlined that before, but I've heard there have been some concerns raised because last week I held office hours here at City Hall for a couple of hours, and there were concerns about having too many council members all in the same room at the same time. And so I wanted to be sure to let the council know that you can't be in the same room together, even if there's a quorum, so long as you're not setting city policy, deliberating city policy, or voting on anything. With regard to Chief Baker, I'm sorry so many people left, but with regard to Chief Baker, the city's hands were tied, and that was largely due to the advice of the city attorney with regard to whether or not a retirement party would be held or any action could be taken by the city because of the timing of it and what the charter requires. And it wasn't any dilatory motive on part of the council. It was my council to the city council that they had a period of time within which they had to wait to take any action, public comment, any action whatsoever. That time has passed as of last Friday, so I expect there will be additional news with regard to Chief Baker in the coming days. Unless anybody else can think of anything else you were expecting to hear from me on tonight, that's all I have. But I really would ask the council to consider moving those department head reports up to the front. And if the department heads stick around for public comment afterwards, when someone asks a question about the water meter, the water bill, and the PCI representative is still in the building, it's much easier to answer the question. That's all.
Thank you, Brian. Going down the list, next one is administration department reports. Ryan Fellows.
Yes, just kind of segueing up from what Brian was saying, that there are concerns about, I realize that people are concerned about when brush is going to be collected and stuff like that. There's going to be a brush collection on the 24th. That's not this Wednesday, but the following one. And I'll work with PCI to see if there's another opportunity they can do it before then. But at the very least, there will be a full citywide brush collection on the 24th. And working out these details of how often they do brush collection is something that, like Brian said, we're working out on the contract of how that all works. You know, they're not mind readers. They don't know what the city's expectations are until we've communicated them. And sometimes we don't know what the thing is until they've done something contrary to it, so we can tell them, wait, you know. And something that this community told them right away, this council, myself, and others, we wanted to see repairs of the roads. I know they're not done with it, but they have been working on it as conditions warrant, as they're able to. They've made a lot of good progress on it, and they're going to continue to work on it. And I think that is something to be appreciated. For the police part of it, I'm going to reference Chief Pompey because he happens to be here about there was a question about the bulletproof vest part of it. I talked to Chief Pompey a little bit about that today. He's working on analyzing what I keep on saying bulletproof because that's what the vernacular is, but they're bullet resistant.
Right, there's no such thing as bulletproof vest. Again, I'm not here to lay blame on anyone. I understand your positions are very, very tough. You guys make a lot of decisions that affect a lot of folks in this town, and I appreciate that. But I'd like to tell my township board that it is hard to be a police officer these days, and it's getting harder and harder and harder. and you have 2 full-time officers working in your city, keeping your citizens safe, and they are wearing bullet-resistant vests that are 8 to 12 years old. That is unacceptable by any law enforcement standards. Those vests have a 5-year shelf life, and it starts at the day that they're manufactured, not 5 years down the line, but the day after they're manufactured. The U.S. Department of Justice does not hold the manufacturer responsible or liable for those vests after 5 years because they have deteriorated to the point where they cannot guarantee that they will work. You've got 2 guys working full-time that have 8-year-old and 12-year-old vests, and they're city employees, and you put them on the street every day, and that, in my vote, is unacceptable. You're doing them a disservice, and you're putting their lives at risk. What I'd like to do is ask the council to look for some way to purchase 2 vests immediately for a price tag of either between $1,500 and $2,200. That's depending on the level of safety we would like. Those vests are individual to the officer. They're going to take probably 60 days to get here.
Do you think that's something that can be done out of the police budget, or is
I
there
looked
no
at your
room?
budget. You've got nothing in there for a vest. Now, again, I can only refer to what I'm working with.
Right.
I knew our vests were coming up, so I got a DOJ grant to
Right.
pay for my vests. That wasn't done here. It's too late now.
I guess my question is there any savings from, it's my understanding that we were probably covering some of the shifts with the overtime. Is that what was
We're
going
not covering
on?
any shifts. We don't pay overtime. We have no.
Well,
there are plenty of shifts that go without.
The reason that I'm asking is if we're not covering a shift, I hate to use it as the word is saving, but we're not spending that money on the officer if we're not covering that shift with an overtime or whatever. So we budgeted a certain amount for our labor, and we didn't use X, Y, and Z, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of this last week. Is there room in the budget that way that we can pull $1,000 out of that and buy a vest?
I don't know what you budgeted for in terms of officer. In my budget,
Right.
I know how many officers I've got working.
Right, because it's
I don't know when
usually-
you wrote
right.
your budget, how many officers you had working and how many you got now. But that's certainly something we can look at. But that's an issue that we should probably look at, and like you said before, set a date and get on it.
Is that something I can make a motion on at this point?
I have a quick question for you, Chief Pompey. Is it reasonable for us to do something that is sort of like a payroll deduction since the vests are individualized? Is it something where we could say, okay, well, we're going to purchase this vest up front, but we're going to payroll deduct the cost of it out of your check every so often? Or
Well, that
dollars?
is unheard of, but I'll tell you what isn't heard of, is that you tell the officer that comes here that you're giving him that vest, if he leaves your employment within a year, he is going to pay for that vest because it's independent to him. After a year, that vest is probably not going to be good to anybody. So that way you get your money back should he leave. But it's in the state of Washington, in the state of California, in Washington, D.C., there have been courts who have held municipalities liable for issuing faulty equipment to their police officers to include vests. So it's something, you wouldn't issue him a car with 3 wheels.
Right.
You wouldn't issue him a gun that didn't work. You won't issue him a vest and then say you got to pay for it.
Well, yeah,
Now, our
that's
part-timers, part-timers and reserve officers, absolutely, that's part of their responsibility to bring those tools to work. But for full-time officers, that's a given. In almost every contract, union contract, police union contract in the state, it's written right in the contract that you will replace my vest every 5 years. You don't have it in your contract.
Can I make a motion at this point? Is that? I believe I can. I'd like to make a motion that Ryan and Chief Pompey look at the budget and see if there's a way to work that in where we can move funds around and go ahead with that purchase. If there is some money that we can move around in the budget, let's go ahead and do it before the next council meeting. I want that as the deadline on that.
So you're approving the purchase before the next council meeting happens?
As long as it doesn't come out of the police building and equipment fund.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would like to hear at the next council meeting that you weren't able to find it, and then maybe I'll concede to that. But we need to get it done before the next council meeting.
Yeah, this is another safety issue.
I know.
We need to act on it right away.
Yes.
Did you second?
Yeah, I just seconded
No, I don't think No, I think you
Well, call for the question.
find a way to do it.
Right.
Right.
We'll find a way.
Okay.
So in
That's
this
for the
motion, are
purchase
we-
of two?
So I understand this. For this motion, are we saying that yes, we're purchasing them and we will find a way?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
No matter what funding
No
comes
matter
out.
what, yes, yes.
For two.
For two vests.
Yes.
For two.
Any more discussion?
Just want to be clear.
Let's have roll call, please.
Councilmember Koenig,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanner,
Yes.
Councilmember Hicks,
Yes.
Councilmember Bader,
Yes.
Councilmember Frye,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Farmer,
Yes.
Mayor Householder.
Yes.
I want to thank the council. That is just, does us a world of good. It tells me that you're truly interested in your police department, keeping them safe, and, you know, we can't do it without you guys, absolutely. We want to be professionals, we want to do the job, and we appreciate the tools.
All right, thank you very much. And included in the council packet was information about a patrol car accident. Just want to make sure that that settled everyone's questions about it. All right. And let's see, I included in the council packet the community service director's report. And if anyone has any questions about that, they can let me know and I can follow up on it. Other than that, after festival planning is in full swing, and we have a banner that we're going to be putting up along M43 as soon as MDOT gives us the okay for the permit that we've applied for. So that was a donation by PCI to buy that banner for us, so that was very nice of them.
It's gonna go, remember how we used to hang the flags over Main Street? It's
Okay,
gonna go
like
over
you guys were talking about that one
M43.
night.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
It's gotta be so high for.
Right, right, and it will be.
You get that covered with, funds and DDAs and those that are in the air.
For putting the banner up, PCI donated the banner, and we should go those now.
Yeah. Anything else? Going down the list is Bangor Arts Council, Lynn Farmer.
We have not met, but I did get an email that they're looking at 2 dates, so hopefully by next time we'll have something for you.
Okay. Cemetery Advisory Committee.
We
Lynn?
did meet, we met at the cemetery and we looked at the placement of gravestones in the new section. It should hold about 10,000 gravestones, no, 4,000? 4,000 gravestones. And we also looked at the main entrance to the cemetery because the water rushes down the hill and washes out the road. So we're trying to figure out some ways to remedy that. And we also looked at, had a discussion about the pillars, what we need to do with those because they're deteriorating, and also cemetery rule signs. So we're getting quotes on those and we'll see if we can get those up. So PCI is helping us look at what we could do there to eliminate that washout, or at least, Jenny, help me out here, or at least make it so it doesn't run out in the road.
Suggestions are needed and wanted. How to fix it.
And donations are welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, check with please.
All right. Thanks a lot, Lynn. Next one is the DDA Authority. Summary. Fred? Anything?
We had talked about, we're still looking at purchasing the parking lot over behind, I guess it would be.
Butcher's Market.
Yeah, what's that?
Lapita's Market.
Yeah, Lapita's Market and the other businesses along there from what's his name, Jeff Sauer. We're still looking to do that. We have to talk to the property owner about the wall. And what's going to be done to that, Lupita's, I guess that would be Lupita's restaurant also, to the east side of the tracks. But we do have a plan that's drawn up that was approved. It looks good. I believe, I don't know if we have it here on display or not yet, but it has been approved. So hopefully we can get those parking lots and fix the drainage and hopefully start providing some parking for the people here in Bangor. That's pretty much what we've been focused on here as of late.
All right, gonna do that. Let's jump ahead and then we'll come back to that. We got Chief Babcock here. Would you give us an update? for the fire department, fire district.
We ran 47 calls for the month of August. 24 were in the city. We had 22 medical calls and 2 wires down during that storm that we ran. So not a very exciting month. Really, kind of slow. Just a bunch of medical calls. We ran a fire in Geneva Township later on in the month. But other than that, there's not a whole lot going up. We're getting geared up for Apple Fest. We've got all our stuff getting going and gearing up for Fire Prevention Month. Fire Safety Prevention Week is that first full week in October, so we'll be at the school doing a lot of different things there that first week in October. Other than that, keep it short. Any questions for me?
Thanks, Lon. Part of the DDA plan was this here. We're potentially working on the storefront here to clean this up where it's more presentable for people coming in and out of town, for the downtown area. We're doing the sidewalks through this area. This is M43. This is Main Street, right between our 2 sub-city areas.
It's currently called Railroad Street, but the old plat has Main Street, so that's correct.
Yeah, Railroad Street. Currently the DDA owns this parking lot in the back. This one, the owner's talking about maybe selling it to the city, DDA. Because what occurs is whenever we get rain, there's like what they call a sister drain here, and it fills full of water. So it's kind of almost a waste of money to a certain degree. You make it all beautified, pretty, then every time it rains, it's underwater. What they could do is potentially, tie into this parking lot here where there is a drain system here, where it could actually be a nice drain going into it. So it could be a dual phases where one thing is potentially dressing up the building, doing the sidewalk, also putting additional lights in here to light it up. Then, like we said, work on the parking lots. It's being proposed that, one thing is maybe do the side of the building, or maybe just do the sidewalk with the lights, or all of it at once. Those are part of the things. Also investigation and potential extra grant money to help support this. The lightscaping is pretty expensive. I think per light, I think it was roughly like $3,000 a piece. So we can kind of come back, is there a cheaper way for nice lights? Because you're talking 1, 2, at least 3 lights here. So these are things that we're working on our vendors and different proposals we can come back with.
Are there lights there now? You're talking the sidewalk out in front of like H&R Block and that, right?
Nope.
No, this is next to
Oh,
next
this
to
is
the
Moskowitz building.
next to the
Yeah,
Moskowitz building. Yes.
This is
It has a
43
terrible
right there.
sidewalk. Has a terrible sidewalk and no lights.
And there's only one light, and that's right at the corner
Lights.
of the building, right there.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking at, plus driving in down M43 here with the building.
Has Jeff mentioned any price what he wants for that, possibly wants for that parking lot? Is he willing to?
He's talked about it. I think it was roughly like $5,000.
Kind of reasonable.
Yes.
But he wants us to do something with it right away is what his.
Oh, purchase it right away from him?
Well, no, purchase and blacktop and get it all
do
ready.
something with it right away.
Okay.
Also we looked at the original price was pretty salty. For a limited amount of parking places here, we like to get better bang for your buck for more parking places.
Sure.
So that's part of the plan there.
I heard he was talking about selling it, but I never heard a figure that he was asking, so.
Yeah. It's being worked on. Going down the list is Housing Commission, Hurdle Bader.
Yeah, there's no new concerns with their tenants. They did get an invitation from the Michigan Housing Directors to have a meeting at Mission Point, Mackinac. They approved a 3% wage increase for all employees there. And one thing that's come up in the last couple of meetings is, building inspection fees for occupancy fees, and wondering if there's anything we can do about that. And I mentioned it to Ryan and everything, but it would take a change in our ordinances to make an exception for them. And the other thing, well, you know, we're part of Bangor and everything, and we ought to do the inspection for free or for a lesser charge.
What is the charge?
$40.
Oh, $40. How many of those do you think we do a year?
Quite a few. For the Housing Commission, quite a few.
A couple hundred, couple thousand?
Hard to say, I think it goes from year to
Actually,
year.
you know, the first time it came up, they were transferring people from one unit to another. And there was 4 units that came up at one time. And all 4 of those units had to be re-inspected. And they're saying, well, the state inspects us twice a year and the federal government inspects us every 2 years. And does the city have to inspect us every time we shift people around?
They have working smoke alarms, working everything. If you don't do that, somebody could take something with them, and then they'll say, well, it wasn't here when I moved in, so I don't have to fix it. You guys need to do that.
So, you know, actually, you know, I kind of hearing what he said. I can't see eliminating the inspection. The only, and they tend to have their budget under control better than we do, in that they're not right down to the wire where I don't know we're going to find the next nickel. You know, they seem to have adequate funds, but they are very cautious on their expenditures, and they check with their auditors when something new comes up. For example, the guy that does their maintenance, he's a live-in resident, and he was asking, and he's part-time, and he was asking if he could be made permanent part-time so that he could get holiday pay. And they kind of tabled that because they said they'd have to talk with their auditors and see if that's even feasible with their budget. Other than that, it seems to be running pretty smooth over there. I'm really happy with that.
Thank you, Earl. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, Dan, Lucas.
I've had so much going on since then, refresh my memory.
I know we talked about trying to get some volunteers, get some monies together to possibly work on the skate park. We kind of came up with the idea of putting up a table out in front of the barber shop over the car festival and apple festival, and seeing if we can ask for some, donations from people. We've got to talk. I don't know all the kids that are in the park.
We do need to get some people. Yeah, we did talk about. Now he refreshed my memory on that. We had talked about having some kids try to, because last year they had talked about bringing some skate boarders over from the skate church, and that fizzled out because they knew the weather was going to be bad and they didn't want to ruin their ramps. But we want to get them involved this year and see if they can collect a little bit of money. I think
we can even get their parents or some adults to stand at the booth, and we can put up right outside the barber shop. I'll be open.
And try to raise some money to get some equipment for the park. I think I guesstimated somewhere in the $2,500 range for materials, and we did get some commitments from some people my age that would come down there and help. So we figured if we had about a half a dozen people, we could go through it in one day.
Now, how are you coming with everything for the Apple Festival?
It's going.
Quite
yeah, Julie and I are every day sending out emails, taking calls.
I seen not Joe. What's the other girl on that lives next to Julie?
I'm not sure what
she's
her
on
name is.
Parks and Recreation. The little girl that's kind of athletic looking.
I'm bad with names. I'm sorry.
Joe and. Anyway, I seen her yesterday, and she said that Jim was over there cutting plywood to put up on the top of the caboose.
Yeah, that was the other thing. We had talked at the meeting about
Lisa Perry.
Yes, we had talked at the meeting about the caboose and how the top portion wasn't finished. It was all rotted out. I think Ethan made a commitment, according to an email I received from Ryan, our city manager, on he would reimburse whoever did that. as part of his commitment on that grant. So Jim France went and I believe bought the material and painted it.
Purchase and he'd cut
Yep.
it and then we're starting to put it
And
up.
he did an awesome job.
I haven't seen it yet.
It looks
She
good.
just mentioned it to us yesterday in passing. And
Yep, he painted it and he put the pieces up there, and I think he made it so it's not going to be a water issue in the future.
okay.
And now we just need to get the decal put on. We're just waiting on, I believe we're waiting on Leonard to provide the decal now.
The windows, I don't think they're done yet.
They're not painted on, no.
Flashing, I've got the flashing if anybody needs it. I got tons of it.
Okay.
That'll work. Just sitting in my garage. I'll never use it.
What else did we talk about? We talked about, oh, the adopt-a-park type, what did we call that?
Liaisons.
Yes. So each of us took on the responsibility of checking on a park here in town and just keeping an eye on it. Other than that, I can't remember. Sorry.
Right. Any more?
That's it.
Next one is tree board meeting to be scheduled.
We'll be working with our tree committee members to get a meeting scheduled.
Other is the planning commission.
Yes, well, we more or less talked about it earlier when we approved the site plan for McDonald's, but that was the meeting, was to meet and vote on the approval, and as we stated before, the planning commission did pass and voted to pass it on to the city council for final approval. So that's all we have to report at this time on the planning commission.
And other than that, that's about it right now. Thanks a lot, Brad. Van Buren Library Board, nothing submitted. Van Buren Senior Service Agency, nothing submitted. We're still looking for a representative to participate in that board. Anybody wants to join, let me know. Next thing was city council member comments. Let's start out, I guess, Dan.
I don't have any comments at this point.
Okay, Brad?
I just have a few things. Just a quick question for Ryan. It was brought up to me the other day, and I'm not sure if we've done that or not. Has the land been purchased for the that we agreed upon in the DDA meeting, as far as the house on Monroe Street and the property across from Dewell up by the river? Has that been purchased?
Yes, it has. That paperwork is just coming through now.
Okay. All right. Second of all, this goes kind of back to my question on disaster preparedness. My question is, should the council members have keys to the public buildings? We don't have keys. It comes down to disaster preparedness, which I'm still concerned about if we have a disaster preparedness plan, as far as like setting of alarms. I mean, if someone were to call right now and say, hey, we need to get in the city hall, it's an emergency or whatever, we don't have any way to let them in. Only people that would have the keys would be PCI and you, or do you have them? Or PCI have
people
any?
that live an hour away?
Right, so.
Well, the first thing is that this really is not a command center. We don't have a generator hooked up to the building. Really, the fire department building is a real command center. And there is a disaster preparedness plan that the whole county has. And Derek, you're right here. I'll let you speak on that.
No, I know he has spoken on that before, but I'm talking about for our city. Say if somebody goes and says, hey, you know, I'm just throwing something out there. They held you guys hostage here at City Hall or whatever. Something happens here at City Hall. I mean, what do we do in these situations? Do we have anything where we're prepared to take care of any situation that's considered a disaster within the city? Not the county, so to speak, but for the city.
Right, well, and if something happened to a couple people, the rest of the city would be locked out of the city hall. I guess we could change locks and things like that. Do the police have access? I mean, who has a key to the city buildings at this point? PCI probably has some of them, and other than that, it's probably Kim, Lisa, and Ryan. Is that accurate?
Leonard has one too for this building.
Okay.
That's 4 different people. I mean, it would be.
But they all live out of the area.
I have a suggestion. Believe it or not, your charter addresses that to a degree. in case of an emergency, the mayor actually assumes control of all functions of the city. And so if the council is of a mind to clarify exactly what the charter says, my suggestion to the council would be look at your charter and then report and put it on your agenda as to what you should want to do next. But it always, when you have a question like this, always ask, what does the charter say? What do our ordinances say? And if there's no answer, then you may want to do something that provides an answer. But you will find it much easier if you'll just go to what's already been done. Don't reinvent the wheel.
Okay. My other a couple more things here, and then I'm all done. PCI. I noticed they've been doing the street patching, but my concern is how are they prioritizing what they patch, because I think Alexander and Walnut are two of our, well, in my opinion, should have been two of our main concerns, but those are two that haven't been done. But I noticed that like Railroad Street over by where just past the post office was done. I mean, I know they all need to be done, but I would think that Walnut and Alexander would be two primary ones that need to be done first, but they weren't. So I'm just wondering how they were prioritizing when they patch. I'm not criticizing or anything. That's the job that they do, but I just would like to know that because I'm sure other people are concerned and wondering why those weren't taken care of first, because they're more highly traveled roads, and right now Alexander's become a danger because people are driving on the opposite side to get up the hill to avoid the potholes. And I myself had a bike accident coming up that road as I hit a pothole. So, I mean, no, that's a dangerous road, and I think that one needs to be addressed first. And my last thing is, after we had our cemetery meeting, we got some serious issues, as Lynn had stated, with the washout of our main road. There's some concern that if we were to close that road, there's going to be a lot of criticism, so to speak. But we have the only real way to fix that I can see is to pave it. We have no real way to fix it. But I was wondering, my point is, can we send out like letters requesting donations from people? Maybe we get some, maybe we don't. But it's worth a try to get something to put towards fixing that road or doing something with it, and then maybe soliciting somebody to come and look at it just to give us an idea of what we can do outside of paving it. So hopefully we can do that, and that might be a suggestion of something to do to try to get some funds for it. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Freddie. Harold?
Well, the ballpark looks better with that netting down.
Yeah.
Big improvement. The other thing is, we're discussing who's responsible to make sure that the police vehicles are being properly maintained and that our equipment's up to date. Makes me think that we need to get a police committee going. So oversight committee that can report to the council and say, you know, these are big concerns, or we're headed toward a big problem if we don't handle this right now. And the police committee could also possibly help in finding the best prices for repairs. That's all I have.
Thank you, Harold. Luke?
Well, I don't like the idea of making motions at this point, but I would like to make a motion to remove the police cars from the contract that you guys are working on as part of the fleet maintenance, and take that responsibility away from PCI. And put it, that's a motion. I'd like to put that responsibility on the chief of police.
To the chief. I think we should bid it out personally.
Yeah.
Which would be the option of the police chief. I just think they should keep it in-house. They're the ones that drive them. They know what they need. I don't trust, from the quotes I've seen from PCI, that they have our best interests in mind.
Okay, now who's gonna decide? I mean,
it would just be to remove that portion. All my motion is just to remove.
I understand taking that away from them, and if they want, they could bid on it too.
Yeah. The police chief would be the one to deal with preventative maintenance and find somebody.
Ryan, be the one to determine, does that sound
That's-
reasonable?
That's what I would like to see.
I think that if the police committee gets reorganized here and everything, I think working with the chief through the police committee and finding the best route to go. But I agree with Luke that this should not be under the DPW or the.
Can I offer another suggestion? And then my suggestion would be, since no contract with PCI is going to be approved prior to this matter being addressed, I mean, the earliest a PCI contract is going to be in front of you would be the next city council meeting. In the meantime, I would suggest that the council give me an opportunity to work with the chief directly and talk to him specifically about what options are available. Talk about the police committee that has existed in the city for so long, but is somewhat.
Would it be possible at this point then to change or amend my motion to immediately put that responsibility out of their hands, and then we can work on the contract later, since
Into your hands?
into someone else's hands in the city, whether it be the chief and Ryan, and let them.
I don't wanna run into
Just
a void here.
My suggestion, you can amend your motion to say whatever.
No,
you
I'm
want
just
to say.
saying, would that be something that would be appropriate, do you think?
I would rather you let us report back so that you know the repercussions of doing exactly what you're considering doing.
You have to
And so that would happen at the next meeting at the same time the PCI contract would be due.
Well, my motion was just simply to remove that portion from the contract with PCI, and I would still like to see that that's not brought forward in the contract. And there was a second on that motion.
Who's the second?
I've got a question on it. Or do you?
Okay, any more discussion?
Yes. Brian, what you said that to make sure there's no repercussions or nothing, what do you foresee going this route?
I'm going to rely on the people who deal with this issue on a day-to-day basis, and that would be the chief of police, and I'll talk to the city manager, and I would talk specifically, I'd like to find out a little bit more about your police committee. So, but as far as there being a motion to take this portion out of discussions with PCI and the PCI contract, that's all well and good, and that's fine if it's approved by the council. I would take that language out and explain that to their council what they're doing. But my suggestion is, it remains the same, you're going to have an alternative
Right.
to vote on at the same time.
I just don't want to go through this process later on. That's why I present it now. I don't want it to be brought to us and then say, okay, we have to change this. If you're already working on it, let's plan on that's the idea, and plan for that and work out a different solution to that problem.
So are we removing our motion?
I don't want to. No.
So there's a motion on the table, second. Let's go ahead and do all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried.
I have to do a roll call because there's a dissenter.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Councilmember Koenig,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanner,
Yes.
Councilmember Hicks,
Yes.
Councilmember Rader,
Yes.
Councilmember Fry,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Farmer,
Yes.
Mayor Householder.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so to finish up my comments, I'd like to say also that I would like to see, I understand that's going to be happening, but I would like to see someone here from PCI, especially in this transition period. I would almost like to see them at every meeting, since there's a lot going on. We're in discussions about the contract. It'd be good to have them here to answer questions, especially with other things like the sewer issue. I don't like hearing it, from a third party. I like hearing it from someone that knows. So, other than that, I'm glad we were able to work something out on the vests. Hopefully we'll get the cop car thing figured out, and I appreciate the sergeant's honesty in the report that came forward. I thought that was nice, and I liked how it was presented. It's one of the first times I've seen a report like that. So, I think everything's going well, and we're slowly moving in the right direction.
I just kind of want to tag onto his. I want to let Chief Pompey know that we really appreciate the things that you've done. This is really the first time that as a council, I think we've been informed of, Jason, what you guys' needs are. you know, I mean, because as a council, we certainly want to keep our police force, at least I'm speaking for myself, and we want them to be safe. We want them to have the equipment that we need. And I just appreciate that, knowing what those needs are, because that has not been presented to us in the past. And then I just thought it was very interesting that one of the citizens commented on rumors that are out there. And I just think they fly around the city like bees, I guess. And I just think, you know, I've told people before, if you hear a rumor and you know it's not true, please don't engage in passing that rumor on, because, you know, just like the police department, we don't want the police department. Nothing could be further from the truth. We want our own police department here, and we want it run well. And I think that we, as a council, have demonstrated that tonight by our votes and what we've said that we want to give you so that you can do that well, and your department can do that well. So that's my only comment.
Thank you. Jim?
I'd like to comment about the roads, especially on Alexander. Now, I see where they have done patchwork right up to the, where you go down the downgrade there, and then they stopped. I don't know why they stopped, but that is a very pathetic road to even try to go up and down. And the thing is, the patchwork that I'm seeing, going over that patchwork on the streets, it's just as rough in many cases as what they're trying to fix. And I don't know whether they're using a roller to go over to smooth that out, but it's not to what I would think would be a good job on the patchwork that they're doing. And so that's the comment I have about the streets. I want to see them done right. I want to see, I know we can't go over and repave or anything, but at least I think that we need to make sure that when they are patching those, I realize that stuff will settle, but they didn't even use the proper, they just put the stuff in there without, what is it, Luke, they didn't put in there?
Oh, we were talking about the cracks in the road. I talked to Ryan about this earlier. Instead of sealing that with tar like you see everywhere else in the country, they put asphalt there, and the stone in the asphalt is bigger than the crack they were trying to fill. So essentially, instead of filling the crack, you've gone over the crack, and I see that as an issue when winter comes along, because it'll just get pulled right off with the plow. Sure. So, not to mention, it creates a hump instead of a flat surface to drive across.
It's just as rough almost as it is what they're trying to repair. So that's the point I'd like to bring about the roads and everything. So that's all I have.
Okay, thanks a lot. At our next city council meeting, I'd like to make sure we get the police committee back involved, make that on the agenda. We do have an existing police committee. I think we get the people back involved. We probably have to replace one or two people from the standpoint that they no longer live in the city and moved elsewhere. So if we can get notifications out in the next few weeks for that, please. Same thing relates to the added water bill to the agenda. Did we get your address for sure?
It's 206 South Center.
Okay. So make sure we address that. Also, you know, let's make it mandatory at this point until things have worked out better with PCI, where they attend each meeting. Not one per month, but both of them at this time, until some of the people's voices are heard and they're addressed. Other thing, there's an issue that was brought up a couple weekends ago at Donnie Memorial's baseball park for the softball tournament about the restrooms were unlocked, or they were locked. Nobody had access. So they kept running into Harding's after Harding's was trying to do a floor. Two different stories I heard. One was they did get unlocked by PCI or somebody, and later on somebody accidentally locked them again. Therefore, most of the time they were locked. Nobody had access. So
can those be locked from the inside?
I don't know.
They were locked.
Locked all day? Okay. So I'd like to get the word out there where they can contact City Hall, get the city manager here. There's something can be worked out with them getting unlocked for people who can use those restrooms.
Was that the Markovich tournament?
I don't believe it.
Or after
No.
This was after that.
After that.
Before that, they was locked for that too, but they had a thing everything before. So the Historic Society did have a game this week also. Same thing, the restrooms were locked. The thing is, we gotta get some type of notice back to the city, and let's get them unlocked for the public when they come use it.
Not to interrupt you, Nick, on this. I forgot to mention this though, because this pertains to that. I had a citizen contact me concerned about the phone situation with PCI. That PCI was not answering the DPW phone, and it was going straight to voicemail. And they had a heck of a time getting a hold of anybody, and ended up having to come to the city and get the city to contact the Department of Public Works. And if that's going on, that's inappropriate. They need to be answering those phone calls. There's a, you know, an on-call person, or at least there was. They should be answering their phones. They should be forwarded out properly.
Well, like I said, the people, they contact the city, we get those restrooms unlocked for those special events, either it's a tournament, the special event we had this week, everything else, those restrooms be unlocked. Worst thing about it, we need to come up with a policy, we can do that with a deposit or anything like that. Well, we maintain them locked most of the time, just from a standpoint, they're not vandalized, and they're in good working condition. So if they're having a tournament, who's ever leading the tournament, get with the city, we should be able to unlock those where they can use them all day. But the other part of this, we like accountability. If we does unlock them, they verify they're in good working condition when they leave them and turn back in the key. All right. Also, there's surveys out there. That's part of the planning commission. Surveys printed up to the city, trying to get evaluation. What does the people of Bangor and the community like to see Bangor be in the future? We're working on a brand new master plan for the city of Bangor. And part of that master plan goes back to the citizens and all the people around the city of Bangor. So it's critical that you guys answer those and turn those back in to give some type of vision statement back to the city to move us in that type of direction. This vision isn't the vision of the mayor or the city council, but it's the vision of the people of the city. So our thing is, please answer the surveys, give us all the feedback, and that's the way we make our master plan and put our vision towards it. You know, that should tie into the DDA, economic development group, all of it coming together, the parks and recs and everything else. So it's critical to get the word out. We printed off at least 200 of them. There's also the smartphone one where you can scan it, go on a website, or go on the website, just do the survey there. And if we need more copies, we go out and make more copies and get them out to everybody. Biggest thing is you always print off more because they all don't come back. But we're just trying to get the community involved with their feedback. Also going back to Brian, like I said, charters and ordinance. But before that, normally state law first. As long as it doesn't violate state law, then you look at the charter and ordinance. Something to learn on the
You're right.
We listen. We're students.
So yeah, so that's pretty much all I have at this point.
Just one last thing, the Pure Marquette is the train line that goes through town, and they're having their 30th anniversary tomorrow. They're going to have festivities at the depot building starting at 8 o'clock, concluding at 9:07 when the Amtrak train arrives. So anyone is interested in a really good time in the morning, come on out.
Yep. And what's the date, Apple Fest, Luke?
October 4th, and that's from 9 a.m. till the evening hours. Not exactly sure what the end time is, but we're going to have live bands there. The car show, it looks like we're up to somewhere around 40 vendors possibly at this point. It should be a pretty good time. The fire department's going to be there with their bounce house. We're going to have kids' activities set up next to Roma's Pizza and Dell's Hair Care. Sorry, Danny. And Danny's going to have a booth out in front of his place to help with funding for the skate park. It should be a really good time.
Okay, who do they contact if someone wants to put a car in a car show?
They show up that morning, I believe. Registration is done on site. There's no pre-registration, as far as I've been told, with the Lions Club.
I've shown my car there, and usually they, at the roadblock at HM, they have someone that collects the money and
I believe last
thing to put on your windshield so people know what they're looking at.
I believe last year we were doing it all check-in vendor cars. All that was happening at Center Street and M43 by Harding's. That's where we were funneling people in this last year, and that's where we intend to do it this coming year, so that we're not bringing people in random side streets. So there'll be a booth set up there. We start at 6 a.m. letting vendors and cars in. So if you want to come help, 6 a.m.
And still participate with the Lions Club, right?
Correct. The Lions Club puts on the car show.
All Alrighty, thanks a lot. So is there any more support for the Apple Fest from the city council at this point? Because I don't think our next meeting is till October 5th or 7th.
Okay, there was one concern. Now that I think about it, I received an email from Ryan. I had asked him about the amperage, and this falls back on PCI, which is not here. He said, I've checked on the light pole amp issues. I'd asked how much power was available for us to tie into. Last year we had tied into one of the light poles for the stage. Ryan has told me that we are not going to do that this year. I have a great concern with that because A, we can't power the stage, and B, I have a couple of vendors that just need to plug in random small things. I've told them to bring generators if they have generators also, but I do know that we have a 30 amp breaker downstairs, and I would like some sort of clarification. I would like to use it, otherwise it puts us in a bad spot, and it was something we used last year. We didn't burn anything down. I would like to give a PCI and straighten that out. I'm sorry, but a no, we can't use it is not going to help us at this point. It puts us in a really bad spot. So, do I need to make a motion?
What I
or
have from PCI is that they're concerned that the system.
Are they electricians? No, I'm just saying, are any of them
electrician either?
No, I'm
so
saying, did they have an electrician from their team come look at it?
Jimmy, I know if they had an electrician involved or not.
Taylor?
But you know what, it worked last year, why would it not work
Right.
this year?
Well, he's the I know he wasn't he the licensed electrician for the city. Steve?
For who?
Was Jimmy a licensed electrician? No.
Lee Bailey's are.
Lee
Bailey
is the electrical inspector.
Okay, well, at any rate, I would like to go ahead and use
I can check with Lee Bailey to see if Lee Bailey would allow it, and if he would, then I'll approve it.
I will definitely call him also, and hopefully we can get that straightened out. I just didn't want to go against Ryan's email on that, but we need to do it. We need the hookup. We used it in the past.
And what was used last year for the bands, wasn't it? And the freezer for the Lions Club.
Right.
Nice.
30 amps is 30 amps. So if there's a 30 amp breaker, we should be able to use 30 amps.
Anything else?
That's it.
Can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?